Hey, what is up, you guys? It is Tyler. Welcome back to the Tyler Williams channel, and welcome to another video. Yes, we're back with another tier list, back to back. Yes, back to back. Yesterday, I did a top 25 AEW matches tier list where I took 20 of the top rated matches on cagematch.net, and I put that into the list, and that I added 5 of my own favorite matches from AEW. I put that into tier rankings, put it in 5 categories, and ranked all those matches from the scale of don't remember to elite. And today we're going to be doing the same thing, but this time for NXT. See, the big difference between NXT and AEW is that AEW's been around for a year. NXT has technically been around for 10 years. So they have a long lineage of matches to go off of. A lot to choose from. Now, once again, I did the same formula we did for yesterday when I went to cagematch.net and I took the top 20 ranked matches from NXT that was ranked by the people who went to that website and, you know, thought the match was good. They put their own notes down, they rated it themselves, and if it ranked in that top echelon, then it was on this list. So from starting from number 20 all the way up to number 1, we have ranked on this list Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch from NXT TakeOver Unstoppable, The Undisputed Era versus Imperium from NXT Worlds Collide, Johnny Gargano versus Ricochet from NXT TakeOver Phoenix, Undisputed Era versus Tyler Bate and Trent Seven from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano from NXT TakeOver New York, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano from NXT TakeOver 25, The Revival versus DIY from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2, Adam Cole versus EC3 versus Killian Dane versus Lars Sullivan versus Ricochet, I know, versus Velveteen Dream from NXT TakeOver New Orleans, Bayley versus Sasha Banks from NXT TakeOver Respect, The Undisputed Era versus Tyler Bate and Trent Seven from the 21st of June 2018 episode of NXT, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa from NXT TakeOver Chicago, Cesaro versus Sami Zayn from NXT Arrival, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa from NXT TakeOver New Orleans, Sasha Banks versus Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate from NXT TakeOver Chicago, Volta versus Tyler Bate from NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura from NXT TakeOver Dallas, Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn from NXT TakeOver R Evolution, The Revival versus DIY from NXT TakeOver Toronto, and lastly, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano from NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Now those were the top 20 ranked matches from cagematch.net. Of course, I added 5 more of my own that either were on this list and probably below those 20, or I just want to put those in myself because I thought these were definitely worth mentioning. And those matches are Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze versus Tyson Kidd from NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream from NXT TakeOver War Games, Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai from NXT TakeOver Toronto 2, William Regal versus Cesaro from the 21st of November 2013 edition of NXT, and War Raiders versus Undisputed Era at NXT TakeOver Phoenix. Those are the 25 matches we're going to be ranking here, and with that being said, let's get straight into the tier list. So here we are, guys. We are back at the tier list. The only thing that's really changed was the very last one. Yesterday it said Elite to go with, of course, All Elite Wrestling. Today, it says Legendary. Everyone likes to say it's the classic or one of the greatest of all time. I just want to put Legendary in there just to be different. But, of course, ranking these, we have the Don't Remember category. As I explained yesterday, of all the matches I've seen in my entire lifetime, there's only like a fraction of those matches that I've actually seen more than once. I would say 30% yesterday. I'm going to stick to that. Really, 30% of matches I've seen, I've watched more than once. And that's not because I didn't like the match enough to see it again. I just operate whereas, like, if I see a match once, I don't really feel the need to see it again unless I necessarily have to or, like, really, really, really want to, or somebody, like, you know, wants to watch with me. Then maybe. But in most cases, if I watch a match live, I'm probably not going to see it again. I'll just have it in my memory up here. Unless it wasn't that good, and then I'll just forget that it happened. So, if it wasn't really that memorable, then it's in the Don't Remember category. We have okay/overhyped. I don't really consider any of these bad matches, but if they are in the slot where I would think that it's good, or it might be even just below, like just below good, but I don't think it's necessarily worth all the praise it got, then it's going to be in that okay/overhyped category. Of course, we have good, which means that, of course, it was worth the praise to an extent. I think it was a borderline one of those matches where it's like you could definitely recommend to a friend. You could definitely watch it over. It has some replayability to it. We have the great category, of course, which means it was a great match. If you're a fan of the whole Dave Meltzer 5-star whatever ratings things, this would be the 4-star category. This is definitely a match with replayability, something that you definitely would recommend to somebody, and probably even something you watch back, you know, in your spare time. And then we have the legendary category, which is, in my opinion, the NXT all-time greats. This is one of the matches that really cements what NXT is all about. And usually my all-time favorites, or what I believe is the all-time greats, go in that category. It's very rare to put a match up there. So it has to be a damn great match for going legendary, in my opinion. You guys know me. I don't like to be a heavy critic, but if I'm going to give something what I believe is 5 stars, it needs to be worth 5 stars. It can't just get it just because, oh, everyone loved it. Like, that's not how I rank things. But with that being said, we got 25 matches. Let's start ranking these bad boys. So I didn't do it in order once again. I just randomized it. Let the machine do its thing. So hopefully we don't get all the legendaries first and then like all the don't remembers last, because that would really suck. But starting off, it looks like we have Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa from NXT TakeOver New Orleans. Without a shadow of a doubt, that is one of the NXT all-time greats. When you talk about matches with like tremendous storytelling and just some of the most high-intensity, emotionally driven matches, not even just in NXT, but just in professional wrestling, this is one of those matches that I think about. Like, the first rematch that they had was definitely one of my all-time favorites in NXT. So that definitely goes in the legendary category. Next up, we have Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole from NXT TakeOver 25. I believe that's TakeOver 25. As I've stated in the past, I don't like any of the Johnny Gargano Adam Cole matches. I'm not a fan. If there was a don't like category, I would put it in the don't like category, but I didn't make one because more often than not, I liked a lot of the matches that are on here. So I'm going to put this in okay/overhyped because I remember the match happening, but I'm not a fan, so it's in the overhyped category. Next, we have Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa when they were DIY versus The Revival from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. You know, to be honest, to be straight up blunt with you, I don't remember that match happening. I'm sure it was great because The Revival and DIY always had kick-ass matches. If you watch NXT in 2016, their tag division really consisted of DIY, The Revival, and AOP. And maybe lump in TM61. But those 3 teams had like some of the best tag team ensemble matches ever. It was just can't miss wrestling. However, out of all the matches they had, I think this is the one I remember the least. So I had to put that down there. Next, we have Cesaro versus Sami Zayn from NXT TakeOver Arrival. You know, I always liked their series. I mean, I've been watching NXT since the first season. I can't lie and say I've been watching it every year since, because I would say I definitely stopped after season 3, after the women's season, the game show season NXT. The 3rd season I stopped, and then I didn't pick up watching NXT again until 2014. So I will probably say I stopped watching NXT for 3 years. When I picked up, this is definitely one of those feuds that was definitely in fruition. I don't remember which match it was, but there was one match they had that I thought was great that nobody ever talks about, and I know it's not this one. I'm not going to say it wasn't good, because it definitely was, but I don't remember all that much. Do I want to put in don't remember, or do I want to put it in okay? I think I'm going to put in don't remember because I don't remember this specific match in their series all that much. I remember the 2 out of 3 falls, and I remember one of the matches they had, just a singles match. I remember because Cesaro was wearing like blue trunks that day, and he was just uppercutting the shit out of Sami Zayn. I could never find that match anywhere, but that was definitely the match I wish was on this list. We have Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in a Chicago street fight from NXT TakeOver Chicago. I think that was the second one. Yeah, TakeOver Chicago 2 in 2018. This is gonna... I'm bordering between great and good, because it definitely wasn't as good as the first match, but I definitely don't necessarily think it was great or good. I'm gonna put I'm gonna go with good. Honestly and truly, I don't get me wrong, their series was great, but I felt like they peaked at New Orleans. I felt like that was the best match they had. If I had to rank them, I would go New Orleans, Chicago, the Cruiserweight Classic match, or maybe even the Cruiserweight Classic match before Chicago. So yeah, it will go New Orleans, Cruiserweight Classic, Chicago, Takeover 4, and then whatever the hell their last match was, like back in April. Next we have Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura from NXT TakeOver Dallas. You know, I remember when this match first happened, and everyone was talking and ranting and raving about how this was the greatest match in NXT history. And I thought it was a really, really solid, good match, but I did not think it was a great match. I did not think it was like as high praise as people thought it was, or people were saying it was. I'm gonna put this in. I'm put this in good. I'm being very, very, very hard critic today. It's going in the good category. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch from NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. This is one of my favorite women's matches. I don't see why it doesn't get as much praise as it should. I think out of all the 4 horsewomen matches we've had over the last few years, this is definitely like top 3 for me. Just the way Sasha Banks was like targeting Becky's arm was something that really stuck out in my mind from that match. Becky, that was the first time she appeared with her orange hair. She had her theme song changed. She started the steampunk gimmick. It was a really, really great match. Definitely one that I recommend to anybody who forgot it happened. We have the NXT North American ladder match from New Orleans. It was Velveteen Dream, Lars Sullivan, EC3, Ricochet, Killian Dane, and Adam Cole. I remember this match being ranked 5 stars by Dave Meltzer and going like, I don't think it was even the best ladder match I've ever seen, but all right. I'm gonna put this in good. I thought it was a really, really good ladder match, but it wasn't like anything mind blowing, to me, honestly, personally. NXT TakeOver Toronto, The Revival versus DIY. This is going in the legendary category. This is one of my favorite tag team matches of all time, and in my opinion, it was one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. That 2 out of 3 falls, you have each team getting like that pinfall victory of some sort, and then it like built to the crescendo that was like that double submission spot. It was just masterful. It was definitely one of my favorite matches in NXT history, and my hair is still wet, so all this like water is dripping in front of my face. I'm gonna have to keep going like this. Y'all better leave me alone. Don't say anything in the comment section, okay? All right, moving on. William Regal versus Antonio Cesaro from NXT 2013. I'm going to put this in great because this is one of those matches that was so incredibly slept on. I'm honestly disgusted by the fact that people don't remember this match. Like there's been times where I brought this match up and people be like, that match happened? Or I don't remember that happened. Like, you guys are heathens. Like, please put some respect to William Regal's name. Like, if anything, this might have been the match that really sold me on Cesaro before I became like a huge Cesaro fan. And William Regal, he's just a masterclass of technical wrestling, and this definitely was one of his better matches. It was his last match too, which might be why I held it so close, but it definitely was one of the best TV matches NXT's ever had. Tyler Bate versus Volta from NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Legendary. This is also, in my opinion, one of the best NXT matches of all time. Tyler Bate and Volta went, I think, a little over 40 minutes, and they made the most of their time. It did have a little bit of a vibe from their Progress match they had the year prior, but even then, it was such a really good big guy, little guy match. And even though it was David and Goliath, like Tyler Bate being so strong and so athletic, when he would power him up or he would go at him with lariats and Volta would be like stumbling, you would believe it. Everything in that match is just so well put together, so that definitely has to go in the legendary category, in my opinion. Next, we have Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano from NXT TakeOver Phoenix. I was there for that show, TakeOver Phoenix. I was in Arizona when this match happened. I don't really remember the match all too much. I can't say I don't remember it at all, so I'm going to put it in okay, because honestly and truly, I think I might have been tired when that match was happening. I feel like either I was eating or I was tired, because it's not like I don't remember it because it was boring. I feel like I don't remember it for a certain reason. So it had to be one of those two. For that reason alone, I'm got to put in okay, because I guess in that sense I've had to put in don't remember, right? Don't remember. Sadly. Sorry. We have Undisputed Era versus Imperium from NXT TakeOver Worlds Collide. The NXT versus NXT UK mashup show. This was the okay overhyped. I remember watching that match and being like, it didn't really live up to expectations in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't really comment too much on it. We have Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This was on television back in 2018. This, in my opinion, is a legendary or great. Legendary, I'm going to put it in great. I don't think it was one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen, but it definitely was one of the best, or if not the best tag team match of 2019. Like, just the way Trent Seven was selling in that match, and the finish, which is almost like something we don't really see too much in professional wrestling. I can't just slip on that match and put it anywhere below great. It definitely was a great match in NXT's history. Sami Zayn versus Adrian Neville from NXT TakeOver Respect. That is going in the legendary category. Sami Zayn, his character, like, was the ultimate babyface back in NXT. And, like, opportunity after opportunity, he would lose and lose and lose. And then they told that storyline of him finally working his way up the rankings and finally challenging Neville, who at this time was slowly turning heel, but didn't quite all the way turn heel. By the time we got to this match, Neville was the heel and Sami Zayn was the ultimate babyface. And just not only the build up and the way it was formed, but just the spots and the near falls in this match had me on the edge of my seat the entire way. And when Sami Zayn won and Kevin Owens came out, and it was just everything put together in that match just made it so awesome. So it has to be legendary. We have Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole from NXT TakeOver New York. This was their first match. I was not, like I said, I'm not a fan of other matches. I'm going to put it in okay / overhyped because I'm just not a fan of it. Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream from NXT TakeOver War Games. I don't understand why people just sleep on this match so much. I won't put it legendary because it wasn't an all-time great, but it definitely was a great match. It definitely was one of the embodiments of what NXT is all about, in my opinion, when it came to those two. And it's sad we didn't get another match, or we didn't get a tag team of those two, but just the one-off match we got alone was just magnificent. Chef's kiss. Sasha Banks versus Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Legendary. This, in my opinion, is one of the best women's matches of all time. And simply, I don't feel like there's been any other women's match in NXT that's really topped it so far. We've had some great women's matches since then, don't get me wrong, and we have another one on this list. But I don't feel like there's really been one that's come close to just how masterful and just how, I hate repeating the words I use, but just how clean and precise everything in this match. And even the finish, and Bayley finally getting her moment, and Sasha, you damn hugging it out. Then you had the Four Horsemen doing the, oh my God, it was definitely one of the matches that put the women's division on the map. I think afterwards, people really started taking that women's division seriously. And even before then, people were really getting, a lot of praise to the Four Horsemen. But I think this match is what put it over the top. And many could even say that's what kick-started the women's evolution. Rah, rah, rah. But then we get into the match, another one from Phoenix. NXT TakeOver Phoenix. It was Undisputed Era versus the War Raiders. Now, I remember this match happening. I remember because my dumbass, was at the, my air just turned on, Jesus Christ. I was at the, what's it called? The convention for WWE. They had a convention going on. I forgot what it's called. But they had a convention. And it ended at like 7 or 8. And the show started at 7. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll head over there at 7 because that's when the show starts. And I remember getting over there and taking my seat, and the entrances were starting. And I'm like, oh, is Triple H coming out? And then I hear War Raiders, and I'm like, oh, I missed the pre-show. So that's how I remember that match, and it was just that was kick ass. That was definitely the best match on the entire show, in my opinion. Do I want to put it in great or good? I'm gonna put this in good. I don't know if it was. I don't remember it being a fantastic or great match, but definitely was really good. Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne from NXT TakeOver Chicago. Another legendary match. I feel like when you talk about matches from NXT that like really kicked ass, this is definitely one of those matches that you had to put in the conversation. Two young men going in there having some of the stiffest strikes and some of like dopest sequences you ever see. It really put the UK scene on the map, I think, for a lot of people in the North American and even really all over the world. People really started taking light of Brit Rest after this match. So even just for that alone, it has to go in the legendary category. If you're just talking about match quality by itself, definitely worth it. Sasha Banks versus Bayley, NXT TakeOver Respect, 30-minute Iron Man match. Well, I guess that means, oh, never mind, I got it right. Okay, so TakeOver Respect. I'm going to put this on good. I'm going to put this in good. I remember the match being really good, but I don't remember liking it all that much. It definitely did not hold a torch to the first one. They went in there and they had a kick-ass, rematch, but I don't even know if it was really all that great in my opinion. I feel like a lot of you aren't going to like this list, but it's cool. We have 4 more left. The TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd versus Tyler Breeze versus Sami Zayn. So before Sami Zayn faced Neville for the NXT Championship, this is one of those marquee matches that I think everyone shined good in. And I was a humongous fan of Tyler Breeze at the time, and I was rooting for him to win all the way. And all the near falls that happened in here, it was anybody's game, and damn, like easily one of my favorite Fatal 4-Way matches in wrestling. Legendary, I don't know. I'm gonna put this in great. I don't think it's a legendary match, but definitely is up there, one of the best matches NXT's ever had. Final 3, Undisputed Era versus Tyler Bates and Trent Seven from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3? 2? I think it might have been 2. Yeah, it was definitely 4? Yeah, I think it might have been 4. Yeah, it was 4. I don't remember this match happening all that much, I'll be honest. I don't remember it happening, so it's going to go in the don't remember category. Last 2, Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae from NXT TakeOver Toronto. One of my favorite women's matches in recent memory, not just for NXT, but just in general. I can't put it in legendary because I don't remember being like all that amazing and being like one of the best in history, but it definitely was a great, tremendous match that I would recommend to anybody go see. In my opinion, I think it was some of Io's best work. It definitely was my best match I've seen from Candice LeRae. Then we get to the last match. Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas from NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. No doubt in my mind, legendary match. Now, I might have a little bit of a bias because I was there, but in my opinion, that was the greatest match in NXT history. I could run down everything about that match and why it was so great, but it was just a fantastic match. This is probably the match I've seen the most out of this entire list. I might have seen this match at least 4 different times in the last 2 years. And every time I watch it back, I'm still just amazed by the work rate and just everything that went into the match, and that was just so perfectly crafted. Johnny Gargano and Andrade, I don't think it will ever be top. There's been some close matches, but I don't think it's been top just yet. Not yet. Not yet. But that was my list. So in the don't remember category, we have DIY versus Revival from TakeOver Brooklyn, Cesaro versus Sami Zayn from NXT Rival, Ricochet versus Gargano, Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era, and OK/overhype. We have both Gargano and Adam Cole matches, and the Undisputed Era versus Imperium. In good, we have Ciampa versus Gargano from Chicago, Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura from Dallas, the NXT North American Championship ladder match, Undisputed Era versus War Raiders, not War Games, from Tenet TakeOver Phoenix, and then the Iron Woman match from NXT TakeOver Respect between Bayley and Sasha Banks. And then in greats, we have Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch, William Regal versus Antonio Cesaro, Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era, Velveteen Dream versus Aleister Black, the NXT Fatal 4-Way match between Neville, Tyson Kidd, Tyler Breeze, and Sami Zayn, and then Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai. And then in Legendary, which I'm shocked we have more Legendary than anything, but at the same time I shouldn't be because NXT's had way more matches, way more years than AEW. We have Gargano versus Ciampa from New Orleans. We have DIY versus The Revival from Toronto. Volta versus Tyler Bates from NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Sami Zayn versus Adrian Neville from TakeOver Respect. Sasha Banks versus Bayley from TakeOver Brooklyn. Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne from TakeOver Chicago. And then Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano from NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. So if I had to make a top 10, I think it might be a little difficult because instead of having, 5 and 5, I could just choose from. I have 7, and then what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 matches in that great category. 13 matches in that top category. So I would have to knock 3 out and then make a top 10 out of that. But if you're looking for a Tyler's top 13 NXT matches of all time, this is it right here. That is the peak of NXT. And that is my top 25 list, top 25 matches in NXT. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let me know. How would your tier list go? Or any of these matches on this list you think shouldn't be on there? And what do you think should be on there? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you guys as always. Before I go, I will be streaming both Fyter Fest and the Great American Bash this Wednesday and next Wednesday. It's going to be the return of Wednesday Night Wars dual screening for 2 weeks only. So tune in for that. I love you guys as always, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace out, guys.